RVBN, The Rich Video Blog Network, home to weekly NFL predictions, great personality profiles, great professional wrestling video blogs, great sports video blogs, great MBTA video blogs, and a whole lot more. A collection of my work goes back to June 2014 on various social media websites. RVBN, the only video blog on the internet that matters. Time now 7:58 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. It's Saturday, April 1st, 2017. Waking up to some slop with rain showers and icy 35, 36 degrees right now. This is supposed to change over to snow when it's all said and done. They say 6 to 10 inches, but a lot of it's already fell overnight during the first part of the storm of snow. Then the sleet and rain basically compacted it, and then the back side of it's supposed to get the rest of the snow, but it's very skeptical at best because it's still raining out right now, but who knows. Some news to report on the RVBN Newswire. Boston Celtics beat the Orlando Magic by the score of 117-116. Wasn't a pretty game, but the Celtics won and are still in first place in the Eastern Conference. And one of the biggest upsets in sports history happened last night. Mississippi State University beat UConn women's basketball team in overtime at the NCAA Women's Final Four. And Huskies' 111 game winning streak is history. Mississippi State University has a great weather program, and some of its graduates were Molly Rosenblunt and my favorite cute lady blonde of all time, Julie Button, among others. And Bill Self, the coach of the Kansas Jayhawks, is going into the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, so congratulations to him. The rest of the inductees will be announced later on today. That kind of leaked out. And it's Happy April Fool's Day, Happy Edible Book Day, and Happy Fossil Fool's Day. There's no such thing as edible books or fossil fools, because it's an April Fool's Day joke. And one more thing before my first video blog subject of the day. The NCAA Men's Final Four tournament starts today on CBS at 6 p.m. with Jim Nantz and Bill Raftery and Grant Hill calling the action. At first, it will be the Gonzaga Bulldogs versus the South Carolina Gamecocks, and then the nightcap, it will be the Oregon Ducks versus the North Carolina Tar Heels. Hosting the event will be Ernie Johnson, Kenny the Jet Smith, Charles Barkley, Clark Kellogg, and Greg Gumbel. That's about it on news from the RVBN Newswire. Be back in the flesh with my first video blog subject of the day about the late great professional wrestler Dr. Death Steve Williams. Angelo gonna go to Mark Basket Day to scratch up Melanie Saw scratch tickets. He'll win nothing. RVBN. Time now is 8:01 in the morning, Billerica, Massachusetts. Back. My first video blog subject of the day is the return of the personality profile. Today's personality profile is about the late great professional wrestler Dr. Death Steve Williams. Dr. Death Steve Williams was a professional wrestler for many years in the 80s and 90s. He was a decent in North America wrestling, but in Japan, he was a superstar. Was one of the best foreign wrestlers in Japan history. Dr. Death Steve Williams was born and he grew up in Colorado. He was a great football player and amateur wrestler in high school. He went to the University of Oklahoma. He played on the football team. He was an All-American, but he was better as an amateur wrestler, and he suffered a face injury one time during a college wrestling match, and he came back with a mask, like a protective mask, one of those things that a goaltender hockey goaltender mask, and he was nicknamed Dr. Death. death by one of the opposing coaches. That's how he got the nickname Dr. Death. Dr. Death Steve Williams started professional wrestling in 1982 in the old Mid-South territory. He was given a push as a mid-card babyface for a couple of years. Then in 1984 he turned heel and he teamed with Ted DiBiase and they won many Mid-South Tag Team Wrestling Championships. Dr. Death favorite move was the Oklahoma Stampede, which was a power slam. And one time in 1985, Dr. Death Steve Williams wrestled Brad Armstrong, and he suffered a serious injury to his eye. He needed 108 stitches, and he wrestled the next night. He almost lost that eye. That's a true story. Eventually, Dr. Death Steve Williams became one of the top wrestlers in the Mid-South / UWF. He won the UWF Championship in 1987, and he was promised a unification match with NWA World Champion Nature Boy Ric Flair when UWF merged into Jim Crockett Promotions and the NWA. But it never happened because the NWA promoter, Jim Crockett, buried all UWF wrestlers except Sting. Dr. Death came to Jim Crockett Promotions after the merger, but he was stuck in mid-card oblivion. He feuded with Mike Rotundo for a while and a couple of other people. He actually joined the Varsity Club with Mike Rotundo and Kevin Sullivan. Dr. Death and Mike Rotundo were actually WCW Tag Team Champions for a brief period of time in 1989, beating the Road Warriors with a fast count by Teddy Long. But that title reign was only a month. And then Dr. Death gets booted out of the Varsity Club and feuds with Terry Bam Bam Gordy for a little while. Then he feuds with Mike Rotundo. Dr. Death was slated for a U.S. title match against Lex Luger at Wrestle War 1990. But Dr. Death was eventually released from WCW because he didn't want to deal with their politics. Plus, he was making a lot of more money by taking frequent tours to Japan. He was, making lots of money, and he had kind of a work schedule where he would go to Japan for a few weeks and spend a few weeks at home. And he did that for several years. Dr. Death also wrestled in small promotions like the UWF. The new UWF, when he was a heel, won the UWF television title. Also, he wrestled in independent promotions. He teamed with Terry Bam Bam Gordy in Japan, and also in some of the independent shows. 1992, Dr. Death Steve Williams came back to WCW. He and Terry Bam Bam Gordy was pushed. They had a feud with the Steiners over the WCW World Tag Team Championship. They won from the Steiners. They also won the newly formed NWA World Tag Team Championship. Dr. Death and Terry Bam Bam Gordy were champions for about 3 months until they lost it to Barry Windham and the Natural Dustin Rhodes. Dr. Death stayed in WCW until December of 1992, but it was kind of depushed after Terry Bam Bam Gordy left WCW to go back to Japan. And Dr. Death got a world title match with Ron Simmons at Starrcade 1992, but it was a reverse decision. Then Dr. Death returns to Japan, basically spending several more years in the land of the rising sun. He made some appearances for ECW in 1996, 1997. He went to the WWE in 1998. He was supposed to get a big push to win Brawl for All, but he was knocked out by Bachman in the second round of Brawl for All contest. He tore a groin muscle and he was out for several months. There were plans to have Dr. Death Steve Williams be the next heel challenger to Stone Cold Steve Austin, but those plans never materialized. at all. Dr. Death briefly came back in like March of 1999. JR managed him, but he worked very, very stiff and hurt some wrestlers. And there was a plan still to have like Dr. Death be a major heel and join Vince McMahon, feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, but those plans never happened, and Dr. Death was given his walking papers. He briefly resurfaced in WCW doing that Oklahoma gimmick in late 1999, early 2000, but that went by the wayside because Dr. Death still didn't want to stick around a U.S. promotion long term because he was making a lot of money in Japan. Dr. Death, Steve Williams, went briefly into MMA for a couple of times, but he didn't really win anything. In 2004, Dr. Death was diagnosed with throat cancer and he had surgery. They had to remove his voice box, but he came back to wrestle a couple of matches, and that was an inspiration. And Dr. Death was actually worked as a trainer for the WWE briefly, but his health was declining more and more. And in 2009, Dr. Death Steve Williams passed away at the age of 49 years old, which is that's so young for a wrestler. Dr. Death could have been a major star in WCW or WWE, but I think the lucrative Japan market for him was a great lifestyle for him. He made tons of money, and he was one of the best foreign wrestlers ever to wrestle in Japan, being from the United States. Plus, Dr. Death had some troubles with, drugs. He was arrested a few times for drug possession, but he got acquitted for that. That probably scared off WWE or WCW for Dr. Death, Steve Williams being in there for long term. They pushing him into a top star because they were with his drug record. They probably did not want to, take the chance on him, and it would have been a PR nightmare. Dr. Death, Steve Williams should be in the WWE Hall of Fame, in my humble opinion. He might go in next year. We'll wait and see about that. Back later, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Google+. 2 more video blogs coming for you. One will be about my take on local elections. And the third and final video blog of the night, why WrestleMania 33, which is tomorrow night, should be The Undertaker's final match. Keep calm, everybody. I'm a Julie Redding guy. Molly Roseblood, WCCO Excellence, Nice Legs. Elizabeth Hutt, so stunning, she's the best. Amy Sweezy's awesome Amy. And the Church of WPIX channel of New York. Touch your Wacky Cougars. Got the best legs in New York City, bar none. Barbecue of ABC 11 has sweet side and X and best legs from Raleigh, North Carolina. And Lisa Bell of New 6, Orlando, Florida, has the 4th best legs in Orlando, Florida. She's one of my favorite cute leggy brunettes ever. Bye now.